Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 23rd of December, 2021. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So I forgot to cover this a couple of days ago. Loopring, or I guess yesterday, Loopring announced the release of their L2 only counterfactual wallet plus direct to Loopring L2 fiat on-ramps, which are finally here, as they say. Now, in layman's terms, what this basically is it basically allows you to not have to create a L1 smart contract wallet using Loopring's iOS app, and you can bypass that altogether, and you'll have an L2 only wallet until you want to create an L1 wallet, right? To kind of go back to L1. So Loopring's calling it a try it before you buy it option, which I think is actually a pretty good way of putting it, because what this does and what counterfactual what a counterfactual wallet actually is, it means it's basically creating the wallet for you at kind of like layer 2 and then kind of like reserving your spot on layer 1. At least I think that's the correct way to think about it, right? So that later when you want to create it on layer 1, you can, using the same address that you have on layer 2, of course. So this is super cool. As I said, it's only available on iOS right now, but Android is coming soon here, which is really, really awesome. And you can find a full description here of I guess like what's going on here, the benefits, the drawbacks. You can see here there's like a few drawbacks here, where an L2 only wallet won't give you things like social recovery or daily limits or locking your account or anything like that, but the cost to create it's much less. But if you kind of like create the L1 wallet as well, you'll get all these kind of additional benefits here, but it costs, I mean, that's like 30x more gas. It costs 10k gas just for the L2 wallet and 300k gas for the L1 wallet and the L2 wallet. So yeah, but also there's fiat on-ramps. So Ramp Network is providing direct fiat on-ramps to Loopring now, which is really cool to see. I remember I discussed yesterday about how I want to see, fiat on-ramps everywhere in all of these L2s, whether they be the kind of like standalone L2s or the generalized ones or anything like that. I want to see them everywhere. But yeah, this is a major announcement from Loopring. Funny thing is, counterfactual wallets or counterfactual smart contracts in general has been something that's been discussed for a very long time. I think maybe 2017, maybe earlier than that. I remember Amin from Spank Chain actually put out a blog post, maybe it was 2018, talking about this. And at the time I was like, okay, this is really cool, but I didn't kind of like see the practical applications of it back then. But I definitely do now, and I think that it's going to be seeing more and more use as time goes on. And Loopring just continue to kill it with the L2 game. The thing is, it's funny because they're not like an app-specific L2, but they're not like a generalized L2. They have their own ecosystem where they have a bunch of different products on their ZK rollup, right? They have the wallet, they have the exchange, they have the Loopring Pay, they have the NFT stuff going on there. With people are kind of like creating rumors right now that Loopring might be partnering with GameStop. The thing is, I don't actually think it's too far-fetched to kind of like think that, because the former head of business development at Loopring, Matt Feinstein, actually is the head of crypto at GME now, GameStop now. So it's not too far-fetched. I think that's the connection people are making, but I don't have any kind of like insider information there or anything like that. I mean, Matt is a friend, a very good friend, but I don't know what's going on there. I haven't actually spoken to him in a little while now that I think about it. But yeah, now Loopring just continues to kill it with the L2 game, just slowly but surely, and I'm really, really glad to see that they brought out their counterfactual wallet release today. So Uniswap v3 is finally live on Polygon's POS chain. This was, I guess, like something that happened over the last month or so, I believe. And I remember going through each of the voting stages with you guys on the review. I thought it was pretty important because Uniswap, as I've mentioned before, is only on Arbitrum, Optimism, and ETH L1 mainnet. And going onto the Polygon POS chain is a big step forward for them, I believe, right? And I really want to see Uniswap on the other L2s as well, and the other kind of, maybe friendly side chains. I don't know how many there actually are. Like XDAI and merged and created this Gnosis chain thing, which I've had a few people ask me about, and I've discussed it before on the Refuel. They're calling it like an incentivized testnet, but like, I don't know. I still don't really see the point of it, but I'm not going to get into that now. But just really, really cool to see that Uniswap v3 is live on Polygon, because I mean, there are other AMMs on Polygon, like Polygon's POS chain, like QuickSwap. But the thing is that, as I mentioned before, Uniswap is just so dominant, right? They have such a dominant brand. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows how to use it, and LP and trade and everything like that. They trust it, which is a big thing. So people are going to be using this in kind of like droves on Polygon's POS chain because they have so many active users on there already, and just deploying Uniswap there is going to be amazing. So I can't, I can't wait to see some stats around this. It's only been, less than 24 hours, I think. So there's not going to be that many stats on this just yet, but I can't wait to personally see the kind of like metrics around this, and also to see how the growth compares to their other deployments, right? At the end of the day, because Arbitrum and Optimism are awesome, but I believe that the Polygon POS chain actually has more users, or at least more active kind of like addresses by a long shot, because they actually did. Polygon actually did liquidity mining originally to get kind of traction. They've kind of tapered that off over the last few months, but they do have a lot of users and a lot of apps on there now. So they have their own kind of like ecosystem that's going on there. So that makes a lot of sense for sure. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing some metrics around that there. And next up, we have Slingshot, who announced today that they are supporting Uniswap v3 on Polygon. So you can use Slingshot to trade through Uniswap. You can just go to this link here. It'll be linked in the YouTube description. But great to see, it's already been integrated. That was really quick, right? I think there was a few other things that got integrated really quickly as well. And it just shows how fast these things move. Could you imagine something like this launching in the traditional finance space and then having to get like everyone to support it? It would take months, if not years. Whereas in Ethereum land or in crypto land, if you launch something, everyone, because it's all open, everything's kind of like smart contract based and basically an open API, everyone can just tap into it, build on it, integrate with it on the day, which is really, really cool. So yeah, really cool to see Slingshot already supporting the kind of Uniswap v3 deployment on Polygon. Last bit of Polygon news is that they announced today that Opera, the web browser, is going to be powered by Polygon soon. So the browser will integrate Polygon in their Web3 ready browser and inbuilt crypto wallet in Q1 2022. So that's another massive kind of like partnership for Polygon there. It's actually a pretty big day for Polygon today. I know I spoke about them yesterday, and I put a tweet out saying yesterday they got a bit of heat over where I said Polygon deserves to be in the top 10, but you guys know I'm an advisor to Polygon, and I've been so bullish on them, for a very long time. Like even before I was an advisor, I was really kind of like bullish on the ecosystem that they were kind of like building, and I knew about it before, and I was like, this is going to be huge, right? So yeah, I know I talk about them a lot, but that's only because they're doing so much. If there's any team within Ethereum that is just absolutely killing it across like every vertical, it's definitely Polygon. But I'm gonna leave it at that. You can definitely check out more information about this partnership. It'll be linked in the YouTube description below. So the Ethereum Foundation put out their final year update around the EF supported teams roundup of 2021 from 15 plus teams. So it's worth the read. So you can see here that all of the Ethereum Foundation supported teams have basically detailing what they're doing, recapping what they've done, in 2021. This is a pretty lengthy blog post. You can see here all the different types of teams that are supported, teams working on consensus research and development, the ecosystem support program, ethereum.org. I'm just scrolling down the list here. Geth, formal verification, zkVM, all these all sorts of stuff, right? So this is really, really cool to see. There's updates and there's links to all these other different things here. And this really is probably one of the best summaries of stuff that's happening within the Ethereum Foundation, kind of like as a group, because I know that transparency into the Ethereum Foundation isn't really there. Not many people actually know what they do. I think I would summarize what they do in kind of like two major things. They provide funding for these teams, and they also kind of like try to push out all of the functions of, I guess, like what Ethereum is trying to do into the public domain, and trying to kind of like support that through, public goods funding, trying to support it through grants and, special grants like the ones that I mentioned the other day, the ETH2 client incentive program, where they gave a bunch of ETH2 client teams. Then they run the DevCon event as well, which is the biggest Ethereum event of the year. Unfortunately, we haven't had one for 2 years now, but we might have one next year. But yeah, I highly recommend going and giving this blog post a read and just checking out all the links and everything, because this will be your best way to learn about all the kind of like less talked about Ethereum things, the things that people just don't like, talk about on Twitter too much and don't kind of like pay much attention to, because it's very, I guess I would call it lower level stuff, where it's a lot of stuff that is not kind of like got bells and whistles on it, but is necessary work. So definitely go check this out. It'll be linked in the YouTube description below. So Across Protocol announced today that they now support round-trip bridging. So you can now send assets from L1 to L2 and back again. The L1 to L2 bridging is accomplished by an integration with the canonical bridges of Optimism, Arbitrum, and Bobo Network. This is really, really cool to see. Just more kind of like bridge infrastructure being built out. I really think that in addition to 2022 being like the year of L2, it's also going to be the year of multi-chain infrastructure. And that obviously includes L2. You know, to me, it's always funny when people talk about like the L2 world, or sorry, the multi-chain world, and then they kind of like, you know, are talking about like other L1s and things like that. Like for me, it's just like L2s, right? But also the other L1s and all these kind of like bridges connecting all these sorts of things. So I do think 2022 is going to be the year of L2, the year of cross-chain, cross-L2 infrastructure, not just bridges, but those arbitrary message relays that I've spoken about and other kind of supporting infrastructure around that. Even block explorers and stuff like that for the actual bridges or bridge explorers, whatever you want to call them, are obviously very important and very critical there. So yeah, great to see this update from Across Protocol. Definitely go check out the blog post for more info on that. So MetaMask is teasing another feature again, part of their Christmas featurettes here. So you can see here that they are working on the next iteration of their EIP-1559 interface. Now, this is just a teaser. You can't really see much what that's going on here. You can basically see this little screenshot where they seem to have like a much more simplified interface and they're saying it's going to come with improved gas estimations, great new UI, and simplified advanced settings. This is great to see because I know that with MetaMask, a lot of people have been complaining, not just about their 1559 integration from an interface standpoint, but also just generally with MetaMask. So it's great to see them focusing more on the UI of the kind of like mobile app and the kind of like Chrome and Firefox extension. Because at the end of the day, as much as kind of we all complain about MetaMask, we all use it, right? We all use it pretty religiously. We use it as a pass-through for hardware wallets. It's what we know. We know it's kind of like secure. It's been around for a while. It's supported by pretty much like every Web3 app out there. So there's a reason we all use it, right? So, but still, we do want it to have like a better UI as time goes on, especially around things like 1559 and gas estimation, because that's something that people toggle pretty frequently, depending on how fast you want to get your transaction in. For me, actually, most of my transactions since 1559 went live, I haven't had to actually touch these settings, but depending on the type of user you are, you may or may not need to do that. So we'll keep tabs on this. I'm sure they'll bring out more information about this very, very soon. So speaking of 1559, Pintail put out a really great article today having a look at if 1559 fulfilled its objectives. And the TLDR is that the transition is still underway for 1559. You can see here that legacy transactions still make up a significant part of mainnet activity. So in green is the 1559 transactions, in orange is legacy equivalent transactions, and then in blue is legacy transactions. So it is trending down, the legacy transactions. I think what, it's like 35% just eyeballing it here. And 1559 transactions seem to be dominating more. And those who are using 1559 type 2 transactions are enjoying significantly lower variability, which in kind of like fees, which means a more efficient gas market. Now, I've explained this to you guys before, is that was the kind of benefit of 1559, is that it would smoothing out the gas fees. It wouldn't reduce them, it would smooth them out, which would lead to a small net reduction in the best case there. So you can see here that Pintail gives an example where they say, for a concrete example, consider Tornado Cash transactions which average 6.4% cheaper when type 2 transactions are used. So this is the little bit of kind of like gas savings I was talking about, where I think it's anywhere from like 5 to 15% that you could have or could have kind of like a reduction here. I remember Coinbase had a reduction of about 7% or something like that across all of their transactions. So it was, I mean, it wasn't negligible, but it wasn't like a massive saving. And that's why I always said that 1559 wouldn't substantially reduce gas fees, but because it smoothed out the gas fees, it would lead to lower, slightly lower transaction fees, which is always really, really good to say. So yeah, I mean, the TLDR is that 1559 definitely fulfilled its objectives. Not only did it provide us with a fee burn, which is obviously one of its objectives, the other one was smoothing out the gas fee market and making it much more efficient and much better in general. I don't know about you guys, but I felt it. As I said before, I haven't had to really adjust many transactions since 1559 went live because of the fact that the estimation is just much, much better, and you're usually included in the next block or two, which is really, really cool. So yeah, definitely go give this article a read because it goes into much more detail about this and provides a lot of proof, which I always love because Pintail's articles I've been reading for years now. I remember Pintail's article on Uniswap was the one that actually got me to understand Uniswap. So this is a lengthy one, a 38-minute read on 1559. But if you really want to dig in and really want to see that it actually, with research backing up all the statements, that it actually improved the gas fee market, definitely check this out. Because I know there was a bit of FUD around this where people said, 1559 increased gas fees and it didn't actually do what it was saying it was going to do. It was all just about the fee burn. Well, now you have basically irrefutable proof that that's incorrect, and you have kind of like all this research to back it up. So very, very glad to see this from Pintail, and thanks to them for putting this out. So, famous basketball player SHAQ updated his name on Twitter today to SHAQ.ETH, I guess. The funny thing is, I always used to say this guy's name wrong because I don't follow basketball, and I know this guy's pretty popular in the US. I used to say his name is SHAQ until one day someone called me out for it, and I was like, "What are you saying, man?" They're like, "Well, who's SHAQ?" I'm like, "SHAQ, the basketball player," and they're like, "What? You mean Shaq?" And I'm like, "Oh, is that how you say it?" I'm really bad at pronouncing words a lot of the time, and I tend to change how I pronounce them because of the fact that I listen to so many different voices. Like sometimes I'll say data, and then sometimes I say data. Like my fiance is always, whenever I say data, she's like, "It's data," and I'm like, okay. It's just funny how like that happens. I remember when I visited the US, I started saying water as in a different way, in the kind of like American way. I can't even remember how to say it right now, but it's funny how that plays out. But anyway, that's a little bit of a tangent. It's just really cool to see this because this makes SHAQ the number one, I guess, like account on Twitter with a .eth name as his Twitter name. So I don't know if this was actually him who did this or his kind of like intern that controls his Twitter account. I'm not sure. I don't follow him, so I don't know if it's actually him that's controlling his Twitter account. But look at ENS taking over the world, right? This is really awesome. There's actually a leaderboard that shows you or kind of like all the people. You can go here to Ethleadearboard.xyz, and it actually shows you the leaderboard of people with their Twitter name as an ENS. So you can see that people like Trey Songs, Drake Bell from Drake and Josh, and I mean, iJustine, famous YouTuber, Bored Elon Musk. I mean, there's so many people that have a lot of followers with an ENS name now. And you can see that SHAQ here has 15.5 million followers, which is 1.7 million more than Trey Songs, which makes him number one. And you can just scroll down the list to see it all. I think last time I checked, I was like top 50 still. Yeah, I'm number 42, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's still top 50, but it's hilarious to me that there are people like above me that are not kind of like ETH native people or crypto native people. They're either just they're doing it because they want to get more involved in the Web3 kind of like vision or more involved with Ethereum, or they're doing it for, I don't know, some I actually think, I'm not sure. I mean, there's lots of different reasons why people would do this, but I like to think that it's because they've kind of like looked into Web3, looked into Ethereum and been like, oh cool, I can get my own kind of I guess domain name, so to speak, right? I can get my own name that attached to my own address, and I can just send people this instead of sending them my address. So and I actually think that ENS is the best non-financial application that we have on Ethereum. And I mean, probably just even the best application in general that we have to show people the power of this technology and say to people, look, you can have a wallet that allows you to do all your financial transactions and all your other kind of stuff without a bank. And you can also attach your own kind of name to it so that you don't have to have all these funky characters. You can just attach, Sassel.eth to it, and then you'll be able to kind of send funds there. Because I don't know how it works in your countries, but in my country, in Australia, I still have to send people a bunch of numbers for my bank account details. They do have some systems now where they allow you to send like your email and things like that, but not all the banks support it, and it can get messy and murky, and then you still want to make sure that everything's okay, and then you have to kind of like ask them for it, ask them for their account details and stuff like that. Whereas on Ethereum, if you want to make sure someone's ENS name is actually correct, you can just put it into Etherscan, and it'll spit out the address for you. So, and some apps will actually automatically do that as well as part of the integrations. But yeah, cool to see SHAQ kind of supporting ETH. Yeah, and I love this .eth, right? Because like immediately people see that and like, what's .eth? And then they'll just go Google it, and and they'll find ENS, they'll find Ethereum, and they'll get more involved. So it's a really great marketing vehicle, I think. All right, finally here we have Element Finance announcing a new primitive for grants and rewards called the Optimistic Grants and Rewards Program. So I think the TLDR of the optimistic approach is essentially that they're going to be they say it here. We think that it's important for the Element community to push forward and run new funding experiments with the new primitives at their disposal to make the grants process more open and efficient. This is why we're pioneering optimistic grants, a new structure that assumes the best out of its grantees by offering the tools and empowerment to deliver on its grant outline in a permissionless fashion. So this is really cool because it basically means that these teams will get grants, and basically it'll be a kind of like, okay, we assume and we're optimistic that you're going to actually put this money to work. You're actually going to build something really cool and create new primitives and create value for the kind of like crypto community. So we're not going to like micromanage you or anything like that. We're just going to kind of like give you the money here. But yeah, anyway, definitely go check out this blog post for more details on this. It was an interesting kind of read, and I thought, okay, this can work, but at the same time, I can see how it can go kind of like Ori, right? People can just run away with the money and stuff like that. But, I don't think many people are going to do that, especially if they've got like their reputations tied to it and things like that. I think this is actually going to be a really cool experiment to watch play out. But anyway, go give this blog post a read for more details on that there. And before I wrap it up for today, there's actually one thing I wanted to quickly talk about that wasn't related to the Element Finance announcement. It was just something else. I don't have a tweet for this or anything. A lot of people have been kind of like asking me lately how to get involved with kind of like early stage investments, private investments, angel investments, things like that. Because on the Refuel, I often say I'm an investor in this project, right? I mean, I forgot to say I'm actually an investor in Element Finance. But the reason I say this is because I want to be transparent with you guys. I want to disclose these things because I don't want you guys to just be kind of like seeing me kind of like, I guess, talk about something or shill something and not know that I have a financial stake in it. Now, I have a personal website that I'm working to spin up. I've been working on this for kind of like a couple of months now, but it's just getting pushed back. And then with the move and everything, it got pushed back even more. I'm hoping to get that out there because that'll list every single team that I've invested in, all the projects I'm advising, all the tokens that I hold, all that sort of stuff there. But what I want to say is that I'm not saying it to brag or anything like that. I'm not trying to kind of pump my bags or anything. I just want to be really, really transparent with you guys. And then, we get people asking me like, how can I kind of participate in this? And I've answered this in one of the AMAs before. But the short and sweet of it is that to be invited to these kind of like private investment rounds or to be an angel investor, you need to meet kind of like two requirements. One, there's the financial requirement, which is a law that is set by various countries called accredited investor laws. This is out of the control of the team. So in the US, the accredited investor law stipulates that you need to have a net worth of at least $1 million, or you need to have made $250,000 plus 2 years in a row as a kind of like income. That obviously locks out 99.99% of people. I think they are the worst laws, the worst financial laws in existence. I absolutely hate them. If there was something I could do about it, I would. Unfortunately, I have no say in those kind of things, especially not in the US. I'm not totally sure how it works in Australia. I think we have similar laws here, but I just don't have any power to kind of change that there, unfortunately. And then the second way you kind of like get invited, or the second requirement, is that you need to kind of like bring something of value to the project, right? You need to kind of like in my case, for example, what I bring of value is the fact that I have a large audience, right? Like I have Twitter following, I do my YouTube show, obviously the Refuel, I tell you guys about things, I can help the teams with marketing, with community stuff, I have a lot of experience, I have a huge network within Ethereum, so that's kind of like what I offer to these teams. Now, there's a lot of other people that they bring on as well that kind of offer similar things, like the Bankless guys, for example, same sort of situation as me. They've got that network and they kind of like get invited for reasons like that. And there's a bunch of other people too, right? There's lots of people who have their own different sets of skills. Some people are really good developers and really experienced ones. They'd love to have them on board. Some people are part of, or at least are part of teams that they want to kind of like work with. So it's better to get them as investors because then you're aligned with them and all that sort of stuff there. So those are the two main requirements. And then I had someone ask in the Discord channel today, and I've had other people ask this before, if I would set up like a kind of like fund and take people's money and then invest kind of like in these teams with that. I'm going to be honest with you guys. No, no, for many different reasons. The number one reason is that that's a lot of risk for me, a lot of legal risk, a lot of paperwork, a lot of just like screwing around, I would have to, I don't even know where to start, especially in Australia. I wouldn't know where to start there. But there's a lot of just screwing around in that kind of like arena there. And a lot of the time when I invest as myself. I don't invest as part of a group, and that may kind of like scare off kind of these teams, and the teams will be like, oh, we don't want, we only want you. We don't want like kind of your kind of like I guess syndicate, you could call it, or something like that. So it's not me trying to be like selfish and keep all of the the stuff for myself, but at the end of the day, I just don't want to take on the insane amount of kind of like legal risk for what I view as little reward. And I've been approached by kind of like funds in the ecosystem before to become an LP for them, or a limited partner, where I would essentially kind of like refer them deals, and then they would give me a cut of that. And I've turned that down because I just don't want to have people kind of like relying on me for that sort of stuff either. I don't want the fund expecting me to bring them all this deal flow all the time, and then kind of like get upset at me if I don't bring them any deals for a couple of months or something like that. I hate that kind of pressure, so I didn't want to do that either. I'm just happy being a solo guy. Like, I'm happy just investing on my own and things like that. But at the same time, I also try to give back as much as possible. I mean, everything I do at the Daily Gwei is free. The Daily Gwei is a true public good. I make no money from it. I mean, okay, the only money I make is when you guys donate to me on Gitcoin. But like, I do no ads or anything like that. And the money you guys donate to me on Gitcoin, after I pay my taxes on it, just goes back into buying ETH, and that ETH is never getting sold. So, like, I mean, I've told you this, told you guys this stuff before. But yeah, I didn't want to get too ranty here, but I just wanted to explain kind of like my reasoning behind all of that, and how I would love for you guys to be able to kind of like have these opportunities as well. But it's more than just a wealth requirement. It really is that kind of like social requirement, or that requirement of kind of like having a network, or bringing something of value, or doing whatever. And the thing is that you can actually join a lot of these projects early on in their Discord channel or whatever, and start adding value and build up yourself over time, and get to a point where you may earn more tokens than angel investors got from their angel investments. And you did that by giving your time instead of your money. That's happened plenty of times before. I mean, my angel investment checks are relatively small for a lot of things that I put money into. And you can probably end up getting a lot more tokens by just contributing to the early stage project there. But yeah, I think the last thing I'll say on this as well is that I understand how people feel. I used to think like this too back when I wasn't getting these kind of deals. But the thing is that like I started from zero. Like, I had no connection to this industry at all before I joined it. I worked my kind of like way up over the years. I tried really hard. I worked my ass off, all that sort of stuff. This is not a sob story or anything like this, right? This is just me explaining to you guys what I did to get to my position today. Like, it didn't just happen overnight. I didn't have anyone kind of like carrying me on their shoulders. I did pretty much most of it on my own, right? And I still kind of like try to keep my name in the ecosystem, and still try to grow myself and things like that. And that's what I suggest you guys do. If you want to access these opportunities, if you want to have more opportunity in general within this ecosystem, you need to make a name for yourself. You can do it as an anon. You don't even have to do it as a public figure. There are plenty of anons out there who have a following. People love them. They do a lot of really cool stuff in this ecosystem. Some of them even found projects and go on to be billion-dollar protocols. You don't have to be doxxed, but at the same time, you do have to put in the work. You can't just expect to have access to all the opportunity in the world if you're not willing to put in the work. And if you want to be a passive investor, if you don't have the time, or you don't care to be really involved, you can do that. You can just buy other things on the public markets, right? There's plenty of opportunity out there still for people who just want to be like in the background investor. And there's been lots of things that have gone like 10 to 100x on public markets that you could have gotten involved in just this year. So anyway, I'm going to end it there. I just wanted to kind of like go through that sort of stuff because I've had people ask this to me a few times before. But yeah, ending it there for today. I noticed that my camera's gone out of focus a few times in this episode. Apologies for that. I'm going to get that fixed hopefully for the next one. But anyway, thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.